and welcome everybody to day 2 of the Foundation's 20 Climate Solution Week here from our studio in Hamburg. And thank you very much, Tom Marks, for getting us into the day, into the onboarding in such a fantastic fashion. Tom Marks, pianist, singer-songwriter, composer, and YouTube star. So we are also YouTube stars with the relay of our live sessions, but that will become later. Let me just introduce you to this day today, which starts with the high-level session. We have prime ministers, we have former presidents, central bank leaders, we have a German top minister, all climate champions in their way, and we're very proud of this particular lineup. But let's concentrate on the title, COVID-19 and Climate Crisis, More Resilience and Recovering Better. We will be discussing these issues, having gotten the inputs of the keynotes with the usual suspects, with Klaus Milke, who is going to be my co-moderator, already waiting in the offing. But of course, I'm going to hand over to the co-hosts, Princess Bessmah of the King Khalid Foundation and F20 co-chair in a moment. But on the way to you, Princess Bessmah, I would like to share something, and maybe that's inspiring also for you on this day. I read in a thesis, 5 theses, 17 words in English about climate crisis, written not by me, by the German think tank. It is real, we're causing it, it's dangerous, all specialists agree, and we can still do something. And on that note, I would really like to hand over to Riyadh, to Prince Bessmah. Thank you very much for being with us this morning as well.
Thank you so much. Good morning to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to welcome you today, day 2 of the week-long summit entitled Resilience and Recovery, highlighting solutions for the G20 on climate and sustainability. The program is co-hosted this year, of course, with the Foundation's 20 platform and the King Khalid Foundation, with support from the BMW Foundation and DBU. Yesterday, we focused on the important issue of sustainable finance, and today our focus will move to climate resilience, biodiversity, and food issues. I'd like to welcome you first on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the King Khalid Foundation to the G20 host country of Saudi Arabia. We're very excited to see all our global participants and inspiring speakers. We were, of course, hoping to have welcomed you today here in Riyadh for this important dialogue, but our plans, as well as everyone else's around the globe, have changed. However, this change has created an opportunity for many more people globally to be part of our gathering and contribute to the conversation. Saudi Arabia hosting the G20 gives my country the opportunity to take the lead and adopt result-oriented, forward-looking and sustainable perspectives and prepare for long-term policies and avoid excessive short-termism, as reflected in Saudi Arabia's G20 2020 priorities of empowering people, safeguarding the planet and shaping new frontiers. These priorities align with what we hope to achieve in the next days, and I am very encouraged by all of the meetings and activities between various G20 engagement groups and the level of coordination and alignment and the promising high-level government meetings so far. At the King Khalid Foundation, we work on achieving prosperity for our society, and we promote sustainability locally and globally. We're proud to use our foundation's funds to support the fulfillment of the global SDGs. We also share the F20's vision of addressing climate crisis issues as they relate to the SDGs within the G20 context and beyond. For those who were not with us yesterday, we had an excellent day of inspiring keynotes and discussions. I'd like to mention briefly some of the main themes that very nicely that set the stage for today's discussion. First, the good news. The money is already out there. It exists. It just is not deployed where we need it. Second, impact investments pay off and often bring better returns than regular investments. We now have plenty of data showing this. The questions we must ask now are, how do we speed up shifting the trillions to support sustainable development? How do we convince many more investors into action, inspire many more in the philanthropic community, and persuade more governments to act? The answer is by sharing data and working together with the utmost urgency and speed. Some of the ideas from yesterday included mobilizing stakeholders to collaborate and work together, be it philanthropists, investors, companies, governments. Only through collective action will we be able to achieve collective impact. I was very happy to hear an agreement on the important role that foundations and philanthropists have to play as catalysts, innovators, and field builders. I would also add risk takers. We need closer collaboration between impact investors and philanthropists. And we must think creatively how to solve issues rather than just fix problems. We need successful role models, new financial instruments, and we need collectively put pressure on governments to improve policies and focus on impact. As we meet today to discuss COVID-19, climate, biodiversity, and food systems, let's reflect on the fact that global crises offer a comfortable excuse for inaction towards long-term priorities. 2020 was planned to be a milestone in climate action, bringing together world governments for a historical meeting in Scotland. The delay in holding key commitments and pledging conferences of parties should not mean a break in action or a delay in responsibility. We should continue to advocate and push for ambitious climate resilience at all times. But most importantly, we all must commit to taking action. We have enough consensus. Let the next decade be all about action. COVID-19's disruption had posed a huge challenge, but also presented an opportunity. And it showed us that we must find comprehensive solutions and work on intentionally creating new systems that work for us in order for us to recover better. COVID-19 showed us that it's possible for countries to come together against a common enemy in the true spirit of global solidarity. We only need to show the world today that this exact approach to collective action is what's needed to be applied for the SDG 13 and the Paris Agreement, where the world needs to come together with urgency against an existential threat. I look forward to hearing today from our experts and speakers their thoughts and plans of action on climate resilience during the pandemic, biodiversity, and food systems. Thank you all for joining us today, and we greatly appreciate your attendance and participation. And thank you, Conny, back to you.
Princess Bessmah, thank you very much for not just your opening remarks, but also for the impetus that you've been giving us. And I'll just sort of hand that and the motion over to Klaus Milke, who right now has the hat of the F20 chair in giving us an outlook of what you expect today is going to be happening and how we take out the best messages and put them into the recommendations that we're going to agree on Thursday.
Thank you, Conny, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you around the world. And again, dear Princess Bessmah and Osama, Dalia from KKF, my huge thank you for your speech and for your activities to prepare these events we have in front of us. And even the day yesterday was really great, and it was a signal of wonderful cooperation and solidarity between us. As chair of F20, it's a great pleasure to welcome you all to the second day of this high-level event of the International Platform of Foundations F20. And we think today it's a good continuity to what we heard yesterday. That there are some speakers today which are really in line with what we heard yesterday and what even are the expectations to them and decision makers in different sectors. We had a very fruitful debate, as Princess Bessmah told us just now, on the interlinkages of impact investing and sustainable finance. And that as a return to society from foundations, much is expected to move forward. That we have to scale up green finance, and that there is this systemic responsibility, there are systemic challenges, but we have also bring up systemic responsibility, and we have to work on this in future and in these days. Just to mention a few learning points from yesterday. Yes, foundations, as we heard yesterday in several speeches, can play a role for our common future. And yes, foundations and philanthropists can be part of the solutions, as we always say, and help to make a difference. The more than 60 international foundations of our platform take a stand for implementing the 2030 agenda with the SDGs and for the Paris Climate Agreement. Goal 7 and Goal 13 are part of the SDGs. Goal 7 focusing on energy for all, everybody in the world. And Goal 13 is focused on climate protection in the context of the UN negotiations. So we have to see it in a context, and we have to work on this in one context. We are convinced we can be bridge builders as foundations and philanthropists because we have an outreach, some of us to business, some more to the financial sector, some more to think tanks, and very many of them to the civil society and even to the political arena. So that makes sense to bring up more joint discussion, more joint efforts to come forward in uncertainty all around us. We are very happy to have you as listeners and watchers on the screens. And it's an opportunity that many more can be part of the debates today. And I must say again, we are very, very sorry, Princess Bessmah, that we can't be with you and your colleagues from the King Khalid Foundation in Riyadh. It's really very negative that we can't be with you in your wonderful country. And it's so important to have the sustainability and climate debate even in your regional and local contexts and with many people and organizations in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and around. And I promise again, as yesterday, we will come over as soon as possible and we will continue our talks. There's a specific dramatic composition in the program during the next days. As Conny told us already, we want to bring up recommendations, positive impulses to the G20 via the Sherpas of the G20 and the finance ministers to the heads of state of G20. And we have some experience in this because some foundations come from specific countries like in China, India and others, and they have concrete contacts to their governments, and so they can reach out in a very quick way. That will be done from the Thursday on, and there is a course in front of us with several meetings in the G20 context. One is the G20 Ministers of Environment. They should meet in Riyadh, but it will be done, I think, in an online format this Wednesday already. And there's another meeting of the G20 Ministers on Energy and the third G20 Sherpas meeting at the end of this month. So we are in line with the process, and we think we can bring up as part of the solutions our contribution, what has to happen. And I'm happy that we can do it together once again. And on this day, in the first part with the political speakers, former presidents, sometimes they are more free to say what is really necessary. Others who are still in charge, they have their specific context, we will hear. And that is the morning, and in the afternoon we will deal a lot on COVID-19 and climate, biodiversity and food, because we see the need that we see it in a nexus, in a coherent context, what's happening in the climate crisis, but in the same time with the biodiversity crisis. I want to repeat again, let us focus on cooperation, a new kind of transformative cooperation on all levels is needed. And it's so clear, nobody is able to solve the problems alone. Before we start, I want to thank all those who made it possible that we are meeting with all of you now and the next days. And once again, a huge thank you to Prince Bessmah and our partner in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the King Khalid Foundation. Thank you very much.